Here is the USB containing the data.
Ah, well, if you always did this for me, I might have been nicer to you. But now, this is mine. Don't think you'll be getting it back. Okay.
I got it. The manager smiled satisfyingly and looked down at me, and then,
You're no longer needed. I'll be handling tomorrow's business meeting. You're fired, effective today.
I got it. I handed over my pre-prepared resignation letter to the manager. Once I confirmed the USB was inserted into the computer, all that was left was to wait and see what happened next. No longer an employee, I slightly smirked. My name is Steve. From a young age, my parents had given me a cell phone, and I became engrossed in watching videos and doing simple searches. Above all, I was captivated by games. Back then, my parents installed educational puzzle games and simple playthings for me. Once I got the hang of it, I started installing any games that caught my interest. That's how I fell deep into the world of computers. Later, when I started elementary school, my dad gifted me his old computer.
In this day and age, it's good to know how to use a computer. Plus, for a game lover like you, it'll be a great gift, right?
Yo, thanks, Dad. Mom was worried about my future grades. But until I graduated elementary school, I continued to ace almost all my tests. Thanks to that, my mom, initially skeptical about giving me a computer, stopped nagging me with her worries. In middle school, with a bit more allowance, I dove into building my own computer. However, I didn't have much money at first, so buying new parts was out of the question. Instead, I hunted for cheap, as-is items, hoping to find something workable. It felt like a treasure hunt game. Spending time with my computer became my top priority. During that time, I also started dabbling in programming. Initially, I wanted to create games like the ones I still loved. Despite the complexity and difficulty, staring at the lines of code I wrote filled me with immense excitement and satisfaction. Eventually, I completed a game of my own. Tweaking and adding to it became one of my daily joys. Thanks to that, during my middle and high school years, I was always the best in computer classes. Whether it was typing tests or PowerPoint and Excel classes, I always finished first. Because of this, my close friends started calling me Master PC.
Master PC, help me with my assignment, please.
My overtime fees are pretty high, you know.
Damn. I'll treat you to any drink from the vending machine.
Okay, you got it. We had the conversations like that. These are some good memories from my youth. I pursued engineering in university. Receiving advice on programming from my dad, who works at a company, my skills grew to a practical level. My new interest became the world of artificial intelligence, also known as AI. The college environment, filled with eccentric creators and people more skilled than me, was like heaven. During my time there, my dad made a suggestion one day.
Steve, how about becoming an engineer at my company?
But if I get a job, I'll lose my freedom. I want to work somewhere where I can do what I love.
I thought you might say that, but Steve, you have the skills to choose freely, so I'm not worried.
My dad didn't dismiss my thoughts. However, my mom looked worried.
but I'm still worried. Nowadays, having a stable job means a secure future.
Don't worry, Mom. I've thought about that.
Really? Are you sure everything will be okay?
I'll tell you first when I get a job, so wait for the good news.
If you say so.
Mom is a worrier but never dismisses others' ideas. I know she's kinder than any other mother I know. So, I didn't want to keep her anxious. That's why, after graduating college, I found a place that seemed like it could fulfill my ideal of balancing work and hobbies. I joined a fairly large advertising agency, giving my mom a sigh of relief. But that workplace lacked my ideals.
Damien is slacking off again and pushing his work.
His name is Tom. He was the first friend I made at this job. He also enjoyed tinkering with computers and even showcased his games at a huge game festival held biannually. Since we had similar interests, it didn't take long for us to become friends.
Steve, you've been called out a lot recently.
Yeah, I guess it's because I said I was good with computers during my introduction.
Tough luck.
But really, for an advertising agency manager, being unable to use a computer properly is something else.
Exactly.
Our workplace, led by such a manager, Damien, a man in his 50s, became a busy place. He leverages his seniority to dump work on younger employees. Because of his behavior, despite being able to leave on time, we're all pushed into working overtime. Both Tom and I are victims of this.
Hey, Steve, come here for a sec.
Yes, what's up?
There's some trouble with the computer. Can you take a look?
All right, I got it. That's how it goes. Whenever there's a problem, they call me. But it's always minor issues. There, it's fixed.
Well, young guys like you can do anything without a computer. Fixing this is expected.
Sure.
You know, I've always gotten A+ grades in math throughout my life. From elementary school, and Elle took a business class at my local community college. Unlike you, who rely on machines for simple calculations, I excel at computation. We're in different leagues. You understand that, right?
I guess so. Conversations with Damien always lead to his boasting and his views on the younger generation. Basically, he has a condescending attitude and outlook towards those younger than him. That's why he's quite disliked in our department. But among us, there was one guy who seemed to get along well with Damien.
This company has grown because of me, you know.
Well, Damien, you truly are a great person.
You get it, my greatness.
Of course.
His name is Matthew. Though he's technically my colleague, we've never spoken. However, he's known for his sharp tongue towards others and always sticks close to Damien like a sycophant. Probably, he's aiming for a promotion, but his behavior has been causing discomfort among our colleagues.
Hey, Steve. Damien said you need to do this.
This? Was it your job?
Huh? What are you talking about? This was indeed assigned to you. What's with that look?
Fine, just leave it. Like that, he, too, is the same as Damien. Matthew had a habit of dumping his work on others. Honestly, we could refuse what he said, but he'd persistently nag, so eventually, everyone just accepts it.
Steve, you're really unlucky.
You too, Tom. Why did we end up working here?
I don't know.
Well, because of two of these guys, I did manage to bond with my seniors and peers. Lately, when we talk during breaks, we inevitably end up complaining about those two. In the midst of this, news of a major project came in. It was about handling a new advertising venture for a global company that develops the latest computer software. For a company of our size, it was a massive opportunity. The president seemed very enthusiastic about it. Thankfully, after some negotiations, we officially secured the contract. It was a sign of great progress for the company. Soon, the news reached our department. It was about assembling a team to prepare the necessary data for the business deal. Looking at the list of members participating in the project, I saw my name on it.
Good for you, Steve.
Yay, this project seems really promising.
I'm sure you'll bring great results. I'm counting on you.
Thanks, I'll do my best. Tom, my colleague, was genuinely happy for me. But our excitement was short-lived. While looking at the list, I noticed Damien's name.
Ah,
Tom seemed to have noticed it at the same time, and we both let out a sigh.
good luck, Steve.
It must be joking. Tom gave a wry smile and spoke in a monotone voice. Starting the project preparations, I first gathered company data and current industry trends to create the materials. To align the materials with the client's needs, I made several visits to their office. After numerous discussions to clarify their requirements, I managed to gain some trust from them. While thinking that it was quite an enjoyable job, I started working on the task. But just when I'm feeling good about my work, that person always seems to show up in front of me.
Hey, Steve, finish this data collection by tomorrow.
Isn't this your task, Damien?
Stop complaining. Just do it.
Got it. Damien pushes even the simplest tasks onto me. Honestly, I wonder when he actually does any difficult work, especially since he keeps dumping these kinds of tasks on me. I feel frustrated about it. Once, while walking around the office during a break, I overheard Damien and his lackey Matthew talking.
That guy is so dumb. I don't get why he works hard.
With someone like Steve around, I get to enjoy the sweet life.
Damien, you're so bad, man.
I totally don't care. Just let that guy handle all the troublesome stuff. That way, I can easily maintain my performance.
You're such a strategist, Damien.
Strangely, hearing their conversation didn't make me angry. It was all too expected, and I just felt resigned. Quietly sighing, I went back to my desk and resumed my work. The day before the project negotiation, I was glued to my computer, finalizing the preparations while communicating with the client. I was so busy that I stood out in the department. Gradually, I started receiving praise from my peers and senior female colleagues, and I felt as fulfilled as when indulging in my hobbies. But it seems someone didn't like seeing me like this.
Hey, Steve, the printer is running out of ink. Refill it.
Sorry, I'm a bit tied up right now.
Just do it when I tell you to. That's the problem with young people.
Got it, Arguing wouldn't change anything. I know his type, so I didn't talk back. But such incidents kept piling up.
Hey, Steve, we're running low on pens. Place in order with the general affairs.
Got it?
Can't you even notice something like a minor problem? What's with young people these days?
There was this instance, and others.
Hey, Steve, make some coffee. Show a little consideration for others.
Sorry about that. After being told off and making coffee for him, he then said, I changed my mind. Make some tea instead. Got it?
Seriously? It's because you're dawdling that I changed my mind.
Honestly, I felt like spilling the hot coffee I had just made on purpose. In the end, I dumped the freshly brewed coffee down the sink and made tea instead. Then Tom came over to me.
Hey, are you okay, Steve?
Yeah, thanks, but there's nothing I can do about it.
Sorry, I can't do much for you either.
It's okay, it's fine, don't worry about it. Just talking to me already makes me feel not alone. That's a relief.
Steve, after the project is successfully completed, let's have a drink, sushi or barbecue, whatever you like. It's on me.
That sounds great. Now, I'll go and deliver this tea. Enjoying my job and the private time promised in the contract. All of it was being taken away by Damien. I was beginning to feel a slight sense of revenge. As I felt my hatred growing, burning up the warm kindness in my heart, I placed the steaming tea next to Damien. It was a signal of my fight. Then, as if to deliver the final blow, Damien dumped a pile of documents on my desk.
Sort these documents chronologically and file them by tomorrow morning.
That's unreasonable. What about the project?
You're just a regular employee, and I'm the manager. Understand the hierarchy. You can't defy me. Can't you even handle this? You're so incompetent. It's pathetic. Being good with computers doesn't mean you're cut out for office work. You're a disposable employee.
Damien, probably harboring some dissatisfaction with me. He said all he wanted without caring about the others around. Feeling relieved, he left with Matthew.
Hey, hand over the documents you created.
It's clear who's superior here.
Normally, for a big project like this, someone in my position should be dealing with the client. It was too early for you.
As I recalled everything that had happened, I trembled with anger, struggling to keep my composure. For the first time, I experienced how one's vision narrows and darkens when losing oneself to anger. But in the remaining sliver of light, I saw Tom and other colleagues and seniors looking worriedly at me. I managed to suppress my dark feelings. All right, here is the USB with the data.
You're being cooperative for once. If you were always like this, I might have taken care of you. But now, this is mine. Don't expect to get it back.
Okay. With a satisfied smile, Damien looked down on me. And then,
You're no longer needed. I'll handle tomorrow's negotiation. You're fired, effective today.
okay, if that's the case, I'll go say goodbye to the president now.
Suit yourself.
I handed over my pre-prepared resignation letter I had in my desk. After Damien took it, he left the room with Matthew looking pleased. Excuse me.
Come in.
After speaking with Damien, I went to the president's office to explain everything. I told him about the project data being uploaded to the company's cloud, how to access it, and that during my visits to the client, I had bonded with an executive, David, who trusted my work and had proposed starting a new company together. I shared all these details.
All right, I thought this company would be a good environment for you, but it ended up causing you pain. I'm sorry.
It's okay, don't worry about it. But probably, the feelings I've harbored against Damien will smolder in my heart for a while.
Well, maybe this is for the best. Besides, I always felt uncomfortable with the idea of you and me being tied by a hierarchical relationship.
I feel the same, Dad. Most people don't know this, but the president of the company is actually my father. I joined the company under my mother's surname, Williams, so it's no wonder no one realized. Initially, Mom suggested I join a company as a successor, but Dad wanted me to live more freely and didn't intend to make me a successor. So, he was actually somewhat relieved to hear I was leaving. I'll clean up my desk and then leave the company.
You make it sound like you're going far away.
Please excuse me for leaving ahead.
Just say you are going home, as usual.
I'm just kidding, Dad. Then, I'm going home.
Take care.
When I returned to the office, I saw Damien in a flurry. I asked Tom what happened.
Apparently, when Damien plugged in the USB drive he possibly took from you, it triggered a warning and the computer froze.
Well, that figures.
Everyone around him is just shrugging it off, saying they don't know what to do, making him even more panicked.
Seeing Damien and Matthew flustered, I couldn't help but snicker. Noticing me, Damien shouted, almost yelling, "Hey, Steve. What's wrong, Mr. Damien?"
When I plugged in this USB you gave me, the computer stopped working. Fix it.
I'm sorry, but I'm no longer an employee here. I was fired by you just a while ago, and it's past my working hours, so I'm going home. I said this and began gathering my belongings to leave. Damien stomped over to me. He reached out as if to grab my collar. I'm not your coworker anymore. If you try to harm me, I'll file a police report. Damien's face turned red, then pale, and he stopped in his tracks.
What did you do?
I don't know, but weren't you aware, Mr. Damien? Our company prohibits carrying data on USB drives for security reasons.
What are you talking about?
It's a rule for preventing data leaks. If you don't follow the proper procedure, plugging in a USB will trigger a warning.
Right, I forgot.
Damien muttered, realizing the company rule he had forgotten. For someone in your position to forget such an important thing, it's surprising you managed to be in charge of others.
Getting cocky, aren't you?
Can't even handle a computer, lacks rational thought as an adult, and behaves like a selfish child who knows nothing of the wider world. It's sad how your mind hasn't grown despite your age. It's a wonder how you've survived in society so far. I mimicked what Damien had always done to me, in front of him. My colleagues watching this were laughing quietly, shaking with suppressed laughter. Tom was grinning, watching us with his elbows on his desk. Well, if you follow the proper steps, you can use it again. After I said that, Damien seemed relieved and let out a deep sigh. Seizing the moment, I added, "You can apply at the General Affairs Department, and it'll be usable in 2 to 3 days." Hearing this, he turned pale again. "The negotiation is tomorrow. I guess you understand what this situation means, right? Someone in your position should naturally understand."
Steve,
"Well, I've been fired. As you said, I'm incompetent, only good with computers. I'm leaving this company now, and please don't contact me. We're practically strangers now. Mr. Damien." With a sense of liberation, I felt like a hero who had conquered a battle, and I left the room. The data on the USB drive was already uploaded to the company's cloud, as I had informed the president. However, I saved it in a place where Damien, lacking computer skills, wouldn't find it. Despite my grudge against him, I didn't want to harm the project or other members, especially the president, who was enthusiastic about it. David from the client's side was also fully informed about the incident, so even if Damien made a mistake, the negotiation would not be jeopardized. The president would surely handle things smoothly tomorrow. Time passed. One day, over drinks, David, who was an executive at the client's side back then, told me what happened afterward. Damien appeared at the scheduled negotiation looking utterly exhausted. He tried to bluff his way through, but was sharply questioned by the clients and my father, the president, causing his voice to tremble. Moreover, when asked by the client why I wasn't present, Damien boldly claimed he was incompetent, so I had him leave as if it was a righteous act. The clients chuckled, but David, without changing his expression, calmly asked,
"In what ways are you more capable than Steve? He often visited us to understand our needs and created clear documents. We were considering asking him for the final advertisement due to its high quality."
"I've always excelled in math. I also graduated from a business class at a community college. Young people these days rely too much on computers and don't think for themselves," confidently boasted Damien. The president laughed.
Graduated a community college. Steve graduated from the university with a Master of Business degree. Also, he had US CPA.
Hearing this, Damien froze.
how come do you know so much about him?
I've been watching over him closely, second only to one other person in this world. It's natural for me to know about him.
That can't mean.
He's my son.
Yikes.
Damien paled and collapsed to his knees. David, like delivering the final blow, said, "Our company develops the computer software you so readily dismiss. Interesting." Saying this, he laughed so heartily that the clients who came with him were taken aback. Then David suddenly stopped and stared coldly at Damien, saying in the lowest voice as he could,
"The incompetent one is you."
The room froze. David mentioned he was expressing his own disappointment too. His colleagues later said they never knew David could be so intimidating. In the quiet meeting room, with everyone staring at their desks, the president addressed Damien. "I understand it's hard to keep up with the times as one gets older. I feel the same, but we must not deny the changes. Once we do, time stops for us. Our industry must always be at the forefront." He continued, You've been pushing work onto others, saying you don't understand or can't do it. I've heard from your subordinates. Most of the work credited to you was done by them. What's your value then? At that moment, Damien was like a deer caught in the headlights, as David metaphorically described. When Damien became almost motionless, the president stood up.
The materials Steve prepared are with me. I apologize for the inconvenience caused today due to my lack of supervision.
He said so, and then apologized to the clients. And David said, Steve's excellent materials and trust are still intact. Let's discuss this another time. And he's practically family to us. The clients laughed and let it go. The president then glared at Damien.
The world has a way of balancing things, like a scale seeking equilibrium. Now, one side of the scale is loaded with your deeds. What will balance it? Let's discuss this back at the office.
He left with a smile not resembling human laughter. Later, Damien was immediately dismissed by the president. Even though David and my dad usually are cheerful and kind, hearing this side of them made me shudder.
Don't worry. That was just an act back then.
David reassured with a smile, but I decided never to anger these two. Afterwards, I was fully immersed in the new company. I started with David, enjoying my work more than ever before. Our business focused on developing apps that everyone could use for fun and convenience. There was a lot to do, but most of the work overlapped with what I used to do as a hobby. In essence, I turned my hobby into a career. I stayed in touch with Tom, who remained at my father's company. Occasionally, we would go out to eat when our schedules aligned, and sometimes we invited David, the president of my new company, to join us. The two of them became good friends, almost like best buddies.
Once the app Steve and I are developing is finished, I want to ask your company for advertising.
That sounds great. I'd love to be the person in charge of the business deal with you.
I'll leave it to you when the time comes.
The connections each of us had built were now bringing together a new team for this path forward. As long as you strive to move forward in life, nothing is wasted. Everything becomes a part of you and your future. I learned this from the experiences I've had up to today. On a side note, recently, on my way home from the office, I spotted Damien. He was standing outside a computer class, talking with people of his own age. After a while, a young man came out of the shop and ushered everyone inside. Damien, if only you had changed sooner, I might have truly respected you. Good luck. Seeing him trying to confront his own shortcomings, I felt a slight urge to cheer him on. The rapid changes of time can drag you into murky depths if you're not careful, sinking you into darkness. That's why it's crucial to actively seek information and upgrade what you have. By doing so, you can evolve into a person capable of keeping up with the new era. You shouldn't give up or deny the things you can't do. It's also important to love the human aspect of yourself, flaws and all. I pledge to myself to never stop learning and to live each day to its fullest.